G'day, this is Captainoob and this is a HK CAWS. This is a highly customizable standalone shotgun type weapon of the bullpup variety of design with custom sounds and animations and very high quality indeed. You can tell that the textures are good. They are 4K right now, so it's taking up a lot of disk space, but it makes the weapon look good. It's got that nice little bit of grit on it to make sure it looks like it's been in the post-apocalypse of 200 years, but not too clean to look like it's fresh out of the factory. Nice balance on that, and the meshes look great. There's not really much else I could say about the presentation of this thing, so let's just get into the attachments. So we've got the standard receiver on right now to give us the best damage. It's got the standard stuff that you'd find in the vanilla game: heavy receiver, lightweight receiver for the lower end of the weapon modification spectrum, but you can make this thing fire a bit faster at the cost of a little bit of range and accuracy with the rapid receiver. Critical receiver is for VATS users, with critical hits doing 16 times base damage. Okay then, well, looks like I'll have to figure out how that works. That's powerful. That's extremely powerful. If you crit and sneak something, that'll probably kill Swan in one shot. We'll have to see how that turns out. We've got the Magnum receiver to give us the best or superior damage, and slightly less damage from the advanced receiver, but better fire rate, range, and accuracy. So if you're looking for a better all-round performance, go for the advanced receiver. But if you're looking for all-out damage, the Magnum receiver seems to be what the best I guess attachment for this slot is. We'll go for the Magnum receiver. We'll go for hitting as hard as we can with this one. Now for the different types of ammo, it actually gets a little bit more interesting in here, because there's a couple of things that the vanilla game isn't ready for, and you can actually grab those and you'll do a lot more damage than usual. So you've got the standard buckshot things. The triple O does the 6 pellets, and the double O does 9 pellets. Basically, don't put this on, although you're getting less range, which seems to be a problem on paper. What happens is when shotguns fire, all of that base damage is spread between the amount of pellets that they fire, you see, which means that the 465 will be spread a little bit thinner along those 9 pellets, and those 9 pellets doing less damage will be further soaked up by the damage resistance of your enemy. So if you can get to a shotgun, make sure it has as little projectiles as possible. This doesn't apply to the advanced receiver for the shotguns in the vanilla game, because that's just a straight damage game that isn't beaten by anything else. But for mod shotguns and generally any weapons that fire multiple projectiles, if you've got an option to fire less projectiles but the same damage, this is probably going to be the best bet. Anyway, so got a rifled slug, which will change the projectile to one big fat slug, which means it's going to be much better at range, and the accuracy will be improved as well. Got the barrel extension on it as well, which means it'll probably synergize pretty well with that. But yeah, that's something to note if you want to make this a little bit more of a sniper shotgun. It's probably all hit scan, so you could probably get away with it. So if you want to use a shotgun shells for a sniper type role, you can totally do that with this weapon. You've got a 12 pellet buckshot here with a little bit more damage, but again, like I was talking about before with the pellet count, you're going to get diminishing returns out of this massive damage boost that you're getting here. The 8 pellet one, definitely what you want to do if you're going for the Magnum buckshot. We've got the cryo shells here, which require cryo cells to actually install, which I don't have, but noteworthy about this, it's got the Skyrim frost damage right here, which in the vanilla game nothing resists that, so that's an extra 215 damage, or maybe less depending on what your difficulty is. So a very strong choice, and it can freeze enemies. What's not to like about that? You can have a Magnum rifled slug, which is basically just an upgrade of this. It's all pretty standard. The flechettes, or flechettes, I got told off for calling them flechettes, so we'll go with flechette. 20 projectiles, better armor penetration, so that'll sort of offset the amount of projectiles that you're doing. If you go ahead and chuck on the legendary explosive effect with the amount of projectiles this fires, this will probably be one of the more powerful ways to run this weapon. You've got Dragon's Breath, which sprays out the Skyrim fire damage, because anything that uses energy damage, even like regular flame damage, is all classed as energy damage in this game, so that's an extra 143 points of damage that'll be completely unresisted. And we've got a heat-seeking slug to, guide itself onto enemies, so if you want to shoot stuff and not really think about where you're aiming, just pick this one. We've got the tungsten buckshot, which I think seems to be the, I guess the third upgrade of the standard buckshot here. We're firing 6 pellets, and it's going to have better armor penetration, damage range, and accuracy. but at the cost of recoil. Now, when you're hitting for this hard, you probably won't need to fire at your enemies more than twice to kill them, so I don't think the recoil is going to be that much of a problem. And you've also got the fragmentation slugs, which gives me violent flashbacks to Operation Metro in Battlefield 3. Good times. We'll go for this the buckshot here, and we'll move on. We can make this fully auto or semi-auto if we want. We'll keep this at semi-auto, but if you want to go fully auto, it'll cost you a little bit of base damage, but you get much better DPS out of it. Now, I'm thinking with the scope that it's got attached on in a semi-auto platform, this thing will proc with sniper, which means we'll be able to knock down our enemies. So we'll see if Tactical has figured out that I would do something like that. And we've got a scope here. You can chuck on a blue laser sight, green laser sight, which changes what this thing looks like. It looks like you just be aiming along the carry rail there, and there'll just be a laser sight where the scope lens usually is. So we'll keep the scope on because the scope is needed to proc with sniper, and we'll use those other sights for other ones. So we've got a barrel extension on now, which is pretty decent. It increases our range and accuracy a little bit, but not as much as the oval chokes, which these randomize the shot patterns to vertical or horizontal, which is kind of cool actually. I quite like that thing. You've got a full choke to tighten the spread even more, increasing our range and accuracy. We're going to be getting less damage because the barrel extension increases the, I guess, the velocity of the projectiles, because it burns up in the barrel for a little bit longer, allowing them to pick up that extra little bit of velocity. Very nice. Attention to detail there. Flash hide is good. You can chuck that on if you're not really keen on much. And an integral suppressor, which is nice for, you know, making the weapon nice and quiet. This, along with the critical receiver, getting as much sneak attack critic damage as possible, I think will be one of the more powerful ways to run this. But I've been rambling on enough. We'll keep the barrel extension. We'll, I guess, modify another one to have a different set of attachments. We've got a legendary effect slot here. We will not need it. 520 damage seems to be good enough. Let's get to shooting stuff. Okay, so here we are in immersive Gunners Plaza, and I've kind of left the more enemies mod on, so this is going to be a little bit of a tough fight. Let's open up in VATS. We'll get a critical, and from back here a critical does half damage, but you'll notice when I scoop in and shoot the guy, he ragdolls. So it looks like the sniper perk works for this thing, and since it's a shotgun and the sniper perk is a per projectile basis thing, well, I've got a decently good chance of killing these guys. Now they're all jumbled up, so this is a good time to bring out the 12 gauge frags, I think, and this is what the power of that is. So this one is the one that I crafted just after making that one that we saw in that first screen there, and it's got the critical receiver and the frag rounds, which means when I do a critical, this is going to be massive overkill. Sure is, but he is one dead man with no head. It's not a good day to be a gunner, that's for sure. So this thing completely just outshines the one that I had with standard I guess Magnum buckshot in this thing in terms of power, which is a little bit of a shame, but if we get nice and close to point blank range and shoot him in the chest, in the center mass, that seems to do a good job. We'll have to take out that one later. There's the sprint animations, by the way, and as for the bash animations, they just punch him. I feel like punching someone when you're equipped with a shotgun is kind of a bad idea. There we go. That one will stop shooting at me and irritating me with the annoying PPSH sounds. That's a good mod, by the way. I was going to do that soon enough. That's a basic gunner. He goes down in one shot. And we've also got the element of surprise against these next bunch. We may as well utilize it. Very good. It's making that hit marker sound. Big juicy hit marker sound. That might be irritating to some people. If it is, I'll turn it off next time because I can see why it might be a little bit irritating. Can't be any worse than the standard Fallout 76 hit marker sound though. Let's go back to our good old buckshot and we'll move in here. Oh my god, they multiplied something fierce over here. This is ridiculous. That's fine. Let's use this thing in VATS a little bit. We'll utilize some of that. Hang on, target prioritization. We utilize some of that good old gun fu here. Very nice. We don't usually get to use too much of VATS in this place because despite being one of the more populated places in this particular game, it's not great in terms of well, there's not usually this many, which means I can get away with doing a little bit more silly stuff like that. Anyways, we'll quickly go around the corner, pop some more shells into this thing, and start bouncing shotgun slugs along the wall. We are definitely in danger at this point, but looks like we can easily take out our enemies if we decide to hit them. And despite this being 12 gauge frags, it still hit scan, which is honestly a little bit disappointing. What is that? A Ghoul Slayer's missile launcher? Yeah, nice. Yeah, I kind of like the idea of frags being this slow moving projectile, but when it gets there, you know, it gets the job done, right? And this guy's still, he's still surrendered. And there is another one down there, but I think he's glitched in a wall. But I think you get the idea. Now, I've turned the more enemy spawns off, so hopefully we won't see too much swans out there. Alrighty, so there's Swan out there. I think he's attacking some local wildlife. And it looks like the spawns haven't caused him to multiply a ton, so that's good. And as a reminder, this thing's got the critical receiver on it. So with that in mind, if we get nice and close to Swan and shoot him with a critical, 16 times critical damage should be enough to kill him very easily. Now, you see he's got the -10 on the cryo thing. That's because I've got a mod that, you know, changes your stats and makes, basically it's an immersion mod, which makes you actually look wet and drip when you go and swim and when you're out in the rain, which is kind of cool. It's a neat little mod. There's heaps of like these tiny little mods out there which, you know, add just that tiny little bit of immersion. Now, you notice how he's chasing me and is, you know, he wants to really kill my ass, but he's not going to be able to do that because I have got the sniper perk with a shotgun, and you ain't going nowhere, Swanny boy. Even when we're not using the sneak attack criticals against him, it's still doing a fairly decent job in doing a lot of damage. And we'll go ahead and just shoot him in the head a ton in VATS. And it's fairly efficient for what it is. We're not using a scope or anything to exaggerate the amount of, I guess, AP we ought to be using in VATS. And this is a time where I use a critical. Wait for him to slam his hammer down. And then just ragdoll him again. As easy as that. And honestly, probably would be a good idea to back off a little bit. If we slip back into caution, we can regain our ability to get those sneak multipliers, and we'll finish this off a lot quicker. It's a bad day to be Swan, that's for sure. Alrighty, so here we are inside of a felon's department store, and we've changed up the attachments for the shotguns a little bit. This one's got the cryo cells and fully automatic with a full choke on it. This one's, I got the suppressor scope and the rifled magnum slugs, so a little bit more skill would be involved in nailing these shots with a explosive round, because you'll have to actually make sure they hit, and if they do hit, they do a ton of damage. So much damage that if you can stay hidden like this, you're probably going to have a very good time. So if we do happen to get spotted by these guys, we'll go ahead and chuck on the I guess the cryo shotgun variant of this, but seems to be going pretty good so far. That guy was not killed, but since we've got a scope on this thing, the sniper bonus still can proc. That one's wearing night vision optics. You can't wear that. That's cheating. Have a critical. And he got frozen, but I'm not really sure if he actually was frozen there. So like I was talking about before, despite these guys being super tanky, they're taken out pretty quickly from this. It just slows them down as in slows their movement speed. Good for melee enemies, very, very nice. But all of that free cryo damage that they can't possibly resist, and that actually have negative if they're out in the in the rain. Yeah, it's decent for damage. These guys, you know, are some of the bullet spongiest guys around, so it's good that we can kill them fairly quickly. Shush, 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 shush. Have a shotgun slug to the face. In fact, have some more. Instant cripple on the head, which is pretty sweet. Alright, we've got a critical ready to go. Now I'm wondering what the projectile is in VATS, if it'll have a close-up whether it look like a bullet or not, because, you know, attention to detail to make it look like a shotgun shell would be, or a shotgun slug would be awesome. Not gonna get it on this occasion. Without a sneak attack critical, going for a VATS critical at this range. Getting 1200 damage, but not a kill. Yeah, that's how tanky these guys are. We'll keep on going anyway. And we'll jump into this room here. There should only be a couple of rat roaches and some doggos that'll appear around the corner. Keep in mind with the cryo stuff, you're going to have much less range. So that's something to be noted. So you're going to have to get up nice and close and personal to actually make this work. So I think you get the point of this thing. This is the HK CAWS, or is it CAWS? I'm not actually sure. But it's a pretty solid shotgun, and if you're wondering, I've got a new outfit today. Hang on, I'll show it to you in the light. It's pretty awesome. I've got the mask on for COVID safety because you never know what these super mutants are carrying. They've got FEV, so, you know, they might be carrying other stuff on them, but I would highly recommend this weapon if you want a shotgun in the game that has decent punch, even on the very hard difficulties where you get, again, that 50% damage penalty. Very fun to use, good animations, good presentation, good meshes, good textures. I recommend it. Link will be in the description if you're interested. Thank you very much for watching, guys.